powerful women and
very toxic,
not given equal resources,
extremely disrespectful,
predatory energy, shoved to the side, inequality in a sport.
At the end of last year's wrestling season, the girls' wrestling coach, Kira Gabladon, also known as Coach Kiki, was unexpectedly fired by head coach Rusty Marcello after raising concerns about discrimination.
The girls were being treated second to the boys. They were kind of considered a sideshow to the boys. There were several incidents where I would have to take the girls out of the mat room and we would have to practice in the portable because the practice that was being run was targeted for the boys, was really highlighting what the boys needed to work on, not what the girls needed to work on. And the girls were getting frustrated because of the pace of the practice and the way these things were being taught. They just weren't able to learn. It was frustrating for them. They weren't enjoying practice. They weren't learning anything. And that would cause me to remove them from the situation.
After Gabladon's termination, the girls' team reached out to Cleveland's athletic director, Kelly Sauer, about the issue, but after nothing changed, they decided to take further action.
I mean, it was just incredibly frustrating how the AD compared it to just not liking an individual who you have to work with. It's a bigger issue than that. It's a women's equality issue. And it was just frustrating. We advocated for ourselves countless times. We went to Kelly. We tried to communicate with her how we weren't going to wrestle if we didn't have the coach that we needed because Marcello wasn't going to fill that role for us in the same way. And there was really, no result from that. And she ignored us and she sided with Marcello. And it was also just so confusing to communicate that to a woman and not have her understand that issue. It was just felt like, misogyny at its worst is that it's so ingrained in even the females who are supposed to be standing up for us in the sport. So
I think the way admin and the head wrestling coaches are currently dealing with our coaching situation is extremely disrespectful to our team as a whole, as they fired the women's coach 8 months ago back in March, and it took them until I'm pretty sure November 27th to even hire a coach for us. That's 2 weeks after the season has already started. Along with that, they hired the JV men's coach to coach a group of varsity girls. I think that's so disrespectful to our team as a whole to assume that we are pretty much on a JV level, even though we have sent multiple people to stay each year. We have had district champions and state champions each year.
In late November, several of the girls alongside Gabladon filed a lawsuit against Portland Public Schools. The 14-page Title IX lawsuit claims the girls' team was given unequal treatment and resources and faced sexist treatment on the team.
I would say the environment of the wrestling community was very split and very toxic in a way because the girls were we weren't a singular team. It was two separate teams. I would really just count down the seconds till Kiki would come to practice, and that would make it so much better because then we would have a coach that would listen and prioritize what we were wanting to learn and what we needed to learn. And
when we were part of the Cleveland wrestling team, we were very often shoved to the side. Many times, especially my freshman year, we would be forced to practice in the cafeteria or last year in the portables. And we never had a say in the kinds of things that we were able to do during practice. When the boys' coaches would structure a practice based on what the boys needed to learn, we would not receive any benefits from that because we were a different team struggling with different things when we should have been one collective team. And that raised a lot of issues for us because it did not give us a voice as female athletes, and it did not allow us to grow as athletes either.
And Kiki multiple times asked Marcello if we could just do girls-only practices instead because, that's a way better opportunity to improve as athletes, as I said before, and we were not given those opportunities. And I also recall a few times being on my way to tournaments and one of the assistant coaches, who I will not name, wearing the regular attire, which is a singlet, which is like the spandex kind of clothing that you wear for tournaments, asking me why I wasn't wearing pants. That was something that was repeatedly asked of me, though I was wearing, exactly what I should be wearing to tournaments. And I just felt like there was a strange, really predatory energy from a lot of the coaches. I think a lot of the girls felt really uncomfortable with the attention that was on their bodies and what they were wearing. And so I just felt like that was just really frustrating as a woman in sports.
The lawsuit calls for Marcello's termination, Coach Kiki being reinstated as the girls' wrestling coach, and equal resources. Currently, many of the girls from the team from last year are training and competing independently at Big Dog Mat Club under Gablodon.
Kiki has had a really big impact on all of us on a team. Me personally, I've known her since before I wrestled for Cleveland High School, and she's just been that safe person for me almost, who I know is always going to be in my corner, win or lose. And even throughout this whole situation, after being fired and the school basically turning their back on her, she's gone out of her way and taken her time, along with our assistant coach Zach, to start a club for us. And we practice on a separate site, and we've been practicing all summer, all of this preseason, and now on season, as we don't feel safe in the room with Rusty as our coach. And I've actually noticed that through these practices, I've gotten the best coaching that I've gotten in a very long time. Comparing those practices to the practices with Marcello, I feel a lot more seen. I feel like the things we're learning are actually personalized and what I need to work on and what our whole team needs to improve on as a whole. And it's just been really nice to feel that shift and feel that attention, we're actually cared about and valued.
We had some people questioning why we didn't quit collectively last season, why we chose to do it at the end. And it's really difficult to understand, what it's like having two really incredible coaches, Kiki and Zaxias, in your corner, and having a team full of supportive girls who all care about you and want to see you succeed in the sport. And then also being targeted and ostracized by a group of men who could not care less about you. And, and we stayed because of that. We stayed because we did have those people in our lives that genuinely cared. And, as soon as Kiki's position at the school was threatened, as soon as she wasn't our coach anymore, there was just no reason for us to stay. There was nothing keeping us there. And I also think that we've just been really, hurt by admin's role in all of this. They haven't taken a stand for us, and I think it feels like it's an institutional issue. It's inequality in a sport, and the people who are supposed to take a stand for us, who are supposed to invest in us as athletes, they don't care. There's also just a lack of communication between us, and Kelly, she just kind of as soon as there was controversy, as soon as there was contention between the girls team and the boys team, she just sided with Marcello, and that was really upsetting. And
now, also, along with that, the coaches aren't even believing anything we are saying we are doing this pretty much all out of spite or something like that, is, I just think, really disregarding to all of us to even want to come back to wrestle, potentially for this school, because of how disrespectful admin and the coaching staff has been towards us and how little respect they obviously show for us.
We have reached out to the Cleveland administration for a statement, but no comment has been given due to the lawsuit being actively investigated. Current head coach Rusty Marcello has also chosen not to make a statement.
I just want to reiterate again that the girls have done nothing wrong, and they do not deserve what is happening to them. They deserve to compete. They deserve to wrestle in their high school season. They do not deserve to be left out and expected to just deal with the same situation that they have a federal lawsuit going on against.